Took 15 and a half years of business or entrepreneurial struggle.
23 YouTube channels.
It was good in that there was kind of a pathway laid out for me. On that channel, it averaged probably about 10,000 a month, yeah.
Good heavens. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about you setting up and starting your own business. Did you know how to do that? Did you know what steps to take?
Well, because I did the 6 years with World Financial Group, they kind of had the business structure. It's kind of like I stepped into a franchise. They had the products, the programs, the marketing materials. So I just had to act. I had to cold call. I had to knock on doors or ask people for referrals and learn how to give presentations and learn how to do paperwork. It was good in that there was kind of a pathway laid out for me. And then I just had to follow. There was training, there was trainings on how to, yeah. So, I mean, I admit when we talk about MLM, there's a very negative stigma. And if somebody were to call me with an opportunity, I'm like, oh, is this going to be an MLM pitch or whatnot? Because I feel like I'm beyond that, and now that's pride again. But I do have to give credit that I learned how to run a business by working as an independent contractor in an MLM.
Wow.
It's, yeah, I mean, I had in my college years, I had that sales job. So that was really good to get me out knocking on doors and following a script and having that script work and just really learning the psychology of sales, and then being on my own, learning how to have everything dependent upon me, not a guarantee, because there was no guaranteed paycheck. There were months where I made zero.
No, but when you're talking about that, I automatically think you're a Latter-day Saint. Yeah. Did you go on a mission? Were you a missionary? So you had those 2 years as well. Did you find that helped inform sort of your future you in those ways, or was it more the actual day-to-day secular work of financial stuff and selling things?
Good question. I separate them a little bit because I didn't have to worry about money. Money wasn't a concern as a missionary. That was actually paid for by my grandpa as well. So my time out there, we were just out there teaching and spreading the gospel. I didn't have to think about
finances.
How am I going to make ends meet? So being a part of World Financial Group, now there's the income focus.
But you do learn how to self-discipline and goal setting and planning and accountability and follow-up and reporting, right? I mean, all of that can be replicated in other settings.
Oh yeah, and so I fully agree with that. 100% agree that definitely I learned a lot and grew a lot from that. And as much as I might criticize my degree at BYU, I have a degree in human biology. That what am I going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
But taking all those tests and the experience of learning and applying it and just learning how to learn is obviously something that's going to serve me the rest of my life. So definitely those are helpful things. I don't regret going to BYU, and I certainly don't have any regrets about my mission. But there was still a lot more to learn because it took 6 + 1 + 8. I just got to get that number.
15.
What is it? Is that 15?
Yeah.
7. Yeah, it's 15 and a half. 15 and a half years.
Okay.
It took 15 and a half years of business or entrepreneurial struggle before I finally got out of debt, really took that financial stress off. That's a lot of lessons to learn. So 15 and a half years on top of college and mission.
You kind of stumbled on to the idea of doing YouTube things, or did someone introduce you to that? In other words, how did you come up with the idea that is now your business today, where you're doing very well?
So we started selling websites, and at the previous sales job, I learned about search engine optimization. So we started optimizing the website so they'd rank on Google. We started putting videos on the web pages, and that would help them rank higher on Google. And after a while of doing this, I noticed, wait a minute, these how-to videos that we're putting on the website are actually getting 50 times more views on YouTube than this entire page ranking #1 on Google. So I follow results, and even though we had this system fully fleshed out of how to get these pages ranked on #1 on Google, the results were bigger over here and it was much simpler. So I shifted, and that was probably 8 years ago that I started making that transition. I had this vision, I knew it could be done, but I didn't have a track record of success. YouTube was now brand new to me. I didn't have that track record. I'm like, but we've got to go big because we'll get big results. So, I mean, you kind of know the story. I found first Chris Crone. We partnered together on a channel. He did not pay me for my services because I couldn't sell it to anybody at that level. But we partnered on the channel. The channel took off and it succeeded. And then other people now I could sell my services to because they saw that track record.
Right, because that has to be a compelling sales point to be able to say, here's where we started, here's where we are today. And tell us a little bit about that. I mean, numbers-wise in terms of subscribers or views, and then also just dollar-wise. What was Chris pulling in, or how was it going?
So we started the channel at zero, brand new channel, no subscribers.
And this is him talking about
real estate investing.
Real estate, like flipping, or just is that sort of the main thing people do?
The main he talks about a lot of things now, but the main thing that he talked about was how to buy a single family home and rent it out.
Oh, rental.
And keep it for 5 years, and so that was the main strategy.
Right. Yeah.
But he would talk all about the ins and outs of that. And my hope at the time, we were partners, and he had a company that was kind of like an MLM, that if we got leads, then I could get commissions from his sales and whatnot. That ended up not being really.
It didn't pan out.
It didn't really pan out.
Yeah.
But that channel actually, for Chris's business actually changed, and he ended up. At one point, we were really bragging that he was making like $600,000 a month just from YouTube leads into the business. Ad revenue at that point was where I was making money, and I made, my most on that channel was $18,000 in a month. So just being able to show people, look, we actually can make ad revenue. Even much more important than that, you can make business revenue. Look what Chris is doing. I had some other examples that I was just showing. Look what we've done. Look how we've done it. Look how simple this is compared to what other people like. We could, in talking about the number of subscribers, if I'm remembering correctly, and these are just guesstimates, but we only had like 200,000 or 300,000 subscribers, and he was making 600,000 a month in revenue. That's not common to be able to make that type of revenue on YouTube. Another channel that I'm familiar with that was more for entertainment, they were making that same amount of money. No, they were making half that amount of money
with 10 million.
Yeah. 10 or 11 million subscribers.
And that was all just the ad revenue. And
it was ad revenue,
and,
sponsorships. Yeah.
So the real genius is using YouTube as a marketing tool for your business.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, here's a tip. Here's a little something for you, Nate. Here's $20,000 a month just from ad revenue. On
that channel, it averaged probably about $10,000 a month. Yeah.
Good heavens.
But that was kind of the story, going to websites, to SEO, to video, and like, whoa, look what we can do on YouTube. And I didn't really make money with it for a couple of years, so I still kind of hung on to the website stuff. But as soon as that Chris Crone and other channels took off, and now I had something to show for it, like, look, my strategy works, then I left all the website stuff in the dust. And
yeah. So you went from having Chris to, how many clients do you have now?
We currently produce 23 YouTube channels. 23
YouTube channels. So they're coming here to shoot, and that's where they've all been coming.
Yep.
Basically. And so but many of them are East Coasters, so you're going to do
Florida.
You're going to do a house in Florida. It's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So having done all of that, is what's the next iteration? Is there something else, or is it just growing this? Where do you plan to go?
Something that I haven't talked a lot about is back in the website design phase, where I got my customers was from LinkedIn. There was kind of a loophole that I found in LinkedIn, and I used it, and it worked. I generated a lot of leads. LinkedIn closed up that loophole. And I knew that there was another way I could have done it, but because YouTube had started becoming so successful, I just left LinkedIn behind. But LinkedIn has been on my mind for a couple of years. I've been interviewing LinkedIn experts to try and figure out, like, okay, what's your system? What's the formula? Because I figured out this formula on YouTube,
right.
And I know that there is a formula for LinkedIn, but all the LinkedIn experts up until recently that I've interviewed, picked their brain, do you have a done for you service? It's nothing. I haven't been able to find it until recently. So now I've been actually figuring out what the LinkedIn formula is. And we're going to start all this stuff that we're doing for YouTube. It's actually going to be, once I create the system, it's going to be easy to start translating that over to LinkedIn too, because for business to business, B2B, LinkedIn is a great place for lead generation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the next phase. Yeah, YouTube is still growing. YouTube is still, I think, let's say we get LinkedIn fully running and YouTube is fully running. I think that YouTube still has the higher potential because YouTube has a promotion engine like no other. When you make a video that makes YouTube money, they promote it through the roof. Like the video that you and I have been on that's gotten millions of views, it's like, it's not that was that great of a video.
Hey, come on.
It was just a moneymaker for YouTube. And it's gotten millions of views because of that. So you just don't have that on LinkedIn. But maybe it will. But for the time being, LinkedIn is still an awesome lead generator. And I also think that LinkedIn is a solution that will actually get more short-term results. They might not be quite as big if you go 2 years down the line.
Yeah.
But in the short term. So anyway, that's what we're working on right now.
Oh, nice.
So your question is, Nate, how come you're a hypocrite?
No, not a hypocrite.
Okay. So there are 100 answers to your question. I am the best building cleaning coordinator on planet Earth.
You're not buy it and then own me because I love it so much I never want to leave it.